Let's pivot to the other NFL player who is gathering headlines and will continue to do so until he lands on a new team. Charean, you were right. I was wrong. I set the over-under a little bit too high. I set it at 1.5, and the under hit. No teams claimed Odell Beckham Jr. on waivers, and now he can sign with any team he wants, including your Dallas Cowboys. There he is running circles around the Cowboys. That was one of the best games he ever had, arguably the best game he had as a member of the Cleveland Browns. And now we see where he lands. I was told early in the process, Seahawks, Saints, 49ers, the Saints tried to trade for him before the trade deadline. And Sean Payton said earlier this week they don't have the cap space to claim him on waivers. Oh, but they got the cap space if they want to sign him to a minimum contract, maybe with some incentives that would hit the cap next year. You can play games with that, not likely to be earned incentives and whatnot. I think the Saints are going to make a run at him. I just don't know that's where he wants to go because he's going to want to go somewhere where there's somebody who can throw him the football. That's why I believe Seattle is a team to watch. Even though they're 3-5, with Russell Wilson coming back, things can get interesting. And with all those weapons they have there, if they're committed to throwing the football, and maybe Pete Carroll is changing, maybe he's had an epiphany during the time, Charean, that he was deprived of Russell Wilson, and maybe he's willing to throw the ball more when Russell Wilson comes back to DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and maybe Odell Beckham Jr.
Well, and think about this, though, Mike. If he goes there, you just mentioned the two guys, DK and Tyler Lockett. And if he goes there, he's the third guy, unquestioned. If he goes to the Saints with Michael Thomas being done, he is the guy. He can be receiver number one. And whoever that quarterback is, whether it's Trevor Siemian or Taysom Hill, will target Odell Beckham. He's going to get a ton of targets. Traquan Smith, Kenny Stills, Marquez Callaway, Deontay Harris, those guys aren't as good as Odell Beckham. Odell Beckham can roll in there as receiver one and get all the catches that he wants. He's going home. He can be the hero. How excited would Saints fans be to have him back in Louisiana? All of that, Mike. So the Saints, to me, make a lot of sense, except for the fact, as you brought up, they don't have that quarterback that the Seahawks have, like a Russell Wilson. So it's going to be interesting what he decides.
Well, and it also is intriguing to me if he would like to play for a team with a quarterback who isn't a strong personality, because he spent 3 seasons, 2.5, with Baker Mayfield, who's the alpha in Green Bay. And who was his quarterback with the Giants? It was Eli Manning, who's flatline.
Yeah.
You know, he's not big personality, in your face, I take charge. And I just wonder whether or not Odell Beckham Jr. would like to, as being the number one receiver, also being the guy who dictates the terms of the relationship with the quarterback. And the quarterback is always going to look to throw him the ball. And the plays are going to be designed to get him the ball. And he's in a position, you know, if 4 or 5 teams are interested in him, and who knows how it'll go, he's in a position to tell his agent to find out what the plans are for using me. And how are you going to get the ball in my hands? Am I just going to be a decoy? Or are we going to have me run the ball? Or are we going to have some jet sweeps, some bubble screens? Am I going to be in the backfield? How are you going to use me? After spending time in Cleveland and not being used to his full extent and capacity, I'd sure want to know. Going through the door, before I sign the contract and it's irrevocable, I'd want to know how I'm going to be used.
Oh, no question, Mike. And I was curious. I thought about this and went back and looked it up. His last 100-yard game, and of course, he missed most of last season. He played 7 games. I get that with the torn ACL. But you go back, his last 100-yard game was 6 catches for 101 yards against the Seahawks on October 13th of 2019. That was forever ago. And, of course, his last Pro Bowl, we could talk about that, was forever ago. That was in 2016. The last 1,000-yard season was 2019. So I do wonder if he gets it to a team that's going to use him with the quarterback who can get the ball to him, can he be the Odell Beckham that we once knew? Or is he beyond that point now at 29? Is he used coming off that torn ACL? Does he still have I saw somebody last night said Odell Beckham can still be a top 10 receiver. And I started naming receivers. I don't even know that he's a top 20 receiver anymore. Can he get back to that point? I don't know, Mike. And I think some teams have questions about how good he can possibly be. Can he be a receiver number one anymore?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's like top 10 quarterbacks. If you go through the league and say, that guy's top 10, that guy's top 10, that guy's top 10, you're going to end up with 20. Same thing with receivers.
Yeah.
If you just do it in a vacuum, you're going to end up with more than 10. Then you're going to have to go to the list and say, oh, crap, which 10 of these guys do I drop to get to my top 10 receivers?
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.